Hey guys, so for this project, what we're going to work on is we're going to work on using humanoid animations, and we're going to use the timeline in order to create kind of scripted cinematic events. This is kind of going to be an entry level to the timeline, which is a new feature that they added into Unity in 2017. And we're just going to kind of get started with that so we can make our own kind of cutscene animations. Now, normally when we are setting up animations and we're setting up animated characters and things, we will want to use the animator as a way of building mechanism animation chains that we can interact with. But sometimes if we're just wanting to do a cinematic or have a looping animation or have something that's going to be more performance oriented, what we can use is timeline to quickly and efficiently lay out cinematic sort of events. So what I've provided is a zip file, and all you really need to do is inside of your assets folder of your project, just go ahead and just extract all, and it will create a subfolder, which, here we go, Unity. I'll go ahead and load all these things in. And so now we have Ybot and animation. And what you'll see is I have created a whole, or have given y'all a whole series of animations. If you want more of these, you can find them at mixamo.com. You just need your Adobe login. And this is all just based off the Ybot character. But I want to show y'all how you can use any animation or any humanoid animation as a way to attach them to a character and then use that character inside of Timeline. Alright, so step one is you'll notice we have all these things here, which are these animations, and some of them don't even have a model or a character. And then we have Ybot, and Ybot is our primary character here. And so if we look at our model, you'll see he's mesh, got all this stuff importing. We have a rig, animation, in which case he has a take one, but he really doesn't do anything, and then he has his material. Alright, so what we want to focus on first is this rig. And by default his animation type is generic, and we want to change that to humanoid. Okay, this is going to allow it to be a mechanism humanoid model, and we're going to hit apply because we're going to allow the avatar to create from this model. Okay, and so it's going to process that, and we can update the reference clips, and now we have a model, we have an avatar that's created for this model. If we go to the animation, he still hasn't updated because he doesn't have any animations along with him. We can actually get rid of these takes if we really wanted to. Okay, so what we have now is a humanoid, and now we can go to something, say, like disappointed. Well, there's no model, but there is an animation for disappointed. If I click on rig, and instead of it being generic, we're going to go to humanoid, and then instead of creating from this model, we're going to copy from another avatar, and it's going to open up a little, give us a source. And while I have a couple of different ones here, we want to go with this Ybot avatar because that's the one that was just generated for us. So I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. So when I go to the animation tab, you'll see that the Ybot is now loaded into our preview, and when I hit play, you'll see him doing this all shucks animation. Okay, what's happened is, using the same avatar, the same humanoid setup, Unity is now processing the animation keyframes so that it will work universally with any character, so long as that character is set up as a humanoid. This has limitations with props and things, but for the most part, if you just need to get basic characters in and basic character animation in, humanoid is so the way to go. It's such a time saver. So right now this clip is called mixamo.com. And let's go ahead and change that to disappointed. Alright, so we'll be able to find it. So what you're going to need to do, let me go ahead and apply, is go through these different animations. Make sure the rig is set to humanoid. Make sure your avatar is set to Ybot, and apply it. And then make sure you change your names to something that you could use. And so this is just sort of an idle animation. No problems there. So now what we can do is we can use these in order to create a short animation or animatic. So what I'm going to do is let me apply that, take Ybot, I'm just going to drag him into the scene. Just kind of reset the prefab so he's in the center of the space. And I want to create a timeline. Now we could click on Ybot and create a timeline here, but what I like to do with my scenes is create an empty game object and just kind of call that timeline, and then attach the director component onto that. So this is timeline playable, save, just fine. Let's create a new object, and now we have this timeline object, and we're not going to animate the timeline, we're actually going to animate Ybot. Okay, so change that in the scene, and now you have this length here. Well, really quickly, all I have to do is go from add from animation clip, and you'll see that I have all my clips here. So I know we've done idle and we've done disappointed. So let's click on the first one here. And you'll see that it's now in the play. So we hit the play just like on a normal animation preview, and it's playing the animation sequence right here in our viewer. We can scrub. Okay. So now let's add a new clip. Let's right click, add from animation clip. Let's go to the disappointed. So now you'll see that we have disappointed, and we also have our idle. Now, right now it's a sharp transition, but what we can do is slide this over, and now it creates a crossfade. Right? And we can use this to build up our own animations and our own cutscenes. One thing to note is if we go to our Ybot, the supply root motion is kind of a key component if we want to have them moving around and not have to manually translate them. So, just to show you what I'm saying, if we go to this our walking animation, rig, change that to humanoid. I want to copy from another avatar. We're going to use our Ybot and hit apply. Go to animation, Mixamo, we'll just call this walking, and hit apply. And now when we hit play, you'll see that he's walking forward. So what does that do in our timeline? Well, let's click back on our timeline object, and instead of disappointed, I'm going to add in walking. Okay. Now, two things. First off, you'll see that he has a walking in this walking hold. Create a little thing here and hit play. So here's the idle animation going into a walk where he walks off camera and then immediately starts freezing. Okay, because that's the hold. So what we really want to have is a looping animation here. So what we can do, let's go to the project, go to the walking animation, and right here where it says loop time, we're going to enable that, hit apply, and then we come back to our timeline. You'll see that the hold is now gone, and it's going to show you these little L's for counting off the number of times that it's looping. So now our character will idle and then start walking. Okay, so let's actually shorten this up. Let's say have him walk a moment, and then we want him to be disappointed. So we'll add clip, disappointed, just kind of drag that back in a minute and hit play. Now, something very strange just happened. He snaps, right? He snaps right back to the beginning. Walk, and reverses. So what's going on here? What's going on is because this is not using a mechanism controller, it's using just the basic animation clips, it doesn't have a way of storing what the position of our object is, okay? It automatically goes back to the origin, okay, whenever it plays the animation. So what we have to do is we have to do what's called an animation offset. So this whole thing down here, the clip root motion offsets, we have this position. Timeline gives us a real quick, easy way to do this. We can just right click on the track and say match offset to previous clip. So what that allows it to do is wherever the position of the object is when we stop walking, it will match this clip to that position. So now when we scrub through, he'll walk forward, and then the disappointed occurs at the exact position where he stops. Okay, so that's called matching offsets. You can also reset. You can adjust your speeds. You can trim and edit. You can even go through and edit the animations inside the animator or under the animation as well. Alright, so last but not least, this is how we can get our characters animated in here. What if we want to have more than one character? So I want to duplicate Ybot, and instead of calling it Ybot1, I'm going to call this one Ybot2. And what I'm going to come and do, click back on our timeline, and I want to add, and I can add a playable, a control, an audio, animation, activation. I'm just going to go ahead and add another animation track, and add Ybot2. Now, clicking on here, I can go add from animation clip, and we'll just do some walking. And I'm just going to stretch this. Say something like that, and now I have two Ybots on top of each other. So let's go to number 2 guy and pull him over. Hit E. Rotate him around. Alright, click back on our timeline. And you see that he takes off. So notice one thing here. I've moved him, but when I click back on the timeline, he snaps back here. You see? And now when I actually click on timeline and hit play, you'll see that he doesn't move from the location where I arranged him. He's back at the origin. So how do we fix this? Well, instead of moving him this way, reset, we want to go into the timeline where this character is here, right? And we can move the character here. Move, rotate. Now when we hit play, we have the two characters coming from where we want them to. So for this project, what I want you to do is load in the Ybot, organize the animations, and create a short animatic sequence, a short timeline sequence with a character or two just kind of going through some different motions. Try to tell a short cinematic story. Good luck.